The Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, has released its 2025 removals program statistics. And I'm sorry to say, for the first time in years, Nigeria is back in Canada's top 10 countries for deportation. The news that broke on January 3rd about the 366 Nigerians that were deported in 2025 from Canada is just part of the story. The official CBSA report reveals a much bigger concern for 2026. 974 Nigerians, that's almost 1,000 Nigerians, are currently in Canada's removal inventory for 2026. These Nigerians are currently living in Canadian communities. Some of them are attending churches or mosques or going to work, still living their lives. But they have that removal order hanging over their head in 2026. The people in this inventory have already exhausted all their appeals and legal avenues to stay. And the CBSA is now handling the logistics to send them back home to Nigeria. It's not a nice position to be in at all. At all. Canada released its broader immigration updates for 2025 and 2026 late last year. And if you read through them carefully, the message is very clear. Canada is tightening. And the biggest shift is around removals.
Figures from CBSA show Canada removed more than 18,000 people in the 2024-25 fiscal year, the majority of which were asylum seekers, spending about $78 million in the process.
Canada has made it very clear that asylum-related removals are being fast-tracked. Files that used to sit for years are now being cleared. Backlogs are treated as a problem to be solved, and quickly too. It is a total system overhaul. Canada is now moving toward a US-style border policy. As of now, the CBSA is heavily recruiting to be able to handle this, and the government is pumping money into seeing this through. And this matters because when you look at the CBSA data they just released that is causing these headlines of Canada deports 366 Nigerians, something jumps out immediately. And that's this: the amount of people deported because of crime is just 4%. 4%. The overwhelming majority of deportations from this report comes from failed asylum claims, which made up about 88% of the whole deportations. Like I said, just 4% was crime related. And that's where a lot of Nigerians are still misunderstanding what's happening. There's this idea floating around that Canada is soft. They don't deport women or families. When children are involved, Canada would look the other way. I'm sorry to break it to you. That is no longer the case, if that was the case before. We already saw how this played out last year when Canada deported that Nigerian family of 10, Taiwo, and had 9 kids, even though one of the children was very sick. They deported them back to Nigeria. That case shocked people because it shattered a belief many were holding on to. But legally, it wasn't unusual. It was a failed asylum claim. And that's the uncomfortable truth many people don't want to sit with. Canada does not decide asylum cases based on sympathy. It decides them based on rules. You can have children, you can have medical needs, you can have a life built here. But if you are claiming asylum and it doesn't meet the legal threshold, the system moves on. And in 2026, it's moving on faster than before. This is why I keep saying, do not assume Canada is soft. They can smell a weak asylum claim. They don't need to announce it or debate it online or plaster it all over social media. They simply deny it and accuse the claim or the person for removal. And yes, some people will have their day in court, and most times the case can go either way. And with how things are moving now, you can just think about how well those cases are going for people. Because some of these failed asylum claims are also claims that were judged in court and found non-compliant. When you hear that roughly 80+% of removals are coming from failed asylum claims, that should stop you in your tracks. Because that means that asylum route is no longer maybe. It is now the highest risk pathway in the system. And this is where I want to be very careful. This is not about blaming people who applied for asylum. No, especially those who applied for asylum in good faith. Many people acted on advice they were given, advice that sounded confident and experienced. That advice may have worked in 2017 or even 2018, not anymore. In 2026, telling people that asylum is a shortcut is no longer just outdated, it's dangerous. Especially when Canada itself has said it wants asylum removals expedited. Yes, that's their policy direction now. At the same time, Canada is dealing with a housing crisis, a job market that is under strain, and a public frustration that didn't exist at this level before. Even Canadians are struggling, and when that happens, public patience disappears, and the system becomes less forgiving. Add that to what's happening in the US and the UK. The US has tightened visa rules for Nigerians. The UK has raised income threshold and narrowed family pathways. This is not random. Western immigration systems are aligning. So there's no longer any country that is an escape country. So when people say if the US blocks you, just go to Canada, they are living in the past. Canada's enforcement pace is now at a 10-year high, about 400 removals a week globally. That's not a warning. That's an operational reality. And this is why I keep saying, be very careful who you listen to in 2026. Anyone still selling asylum is an easy route is not paying attention. Anyone promising that children or your gender will protect you is lying, whether they know it or not. Canada follows rules, and when those rules are broken, the system does not follow emotion. For those deported because of crime, the regret will be lifelong because criminal removals come with bans that don't disappear. But for the far larger group, the failed asylum cases, the tragedy is different. Many of them believed they were safe. Many of them were told to wait it out, that Canada would eventually say yes. Now they are sitting in removal inventory statistics. And that's why I'm talking about this now. Canada is not soft or sentimental. Right now, Canada is adjusting its immigration settings. Check out this video I made about Taiwo and Anai kids who were deported back to Nigeria despite one of the kids being sick. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.